Hey y'all, so I just wanted to get on here just really quickly just to kind of encourage you to really pay attention to the things that are happening right now and to really make sure that you are postured correctly, okay? So we know just recently, there was the attempted assassination of the former President Trump. And then just recently, we just had the Microsoft outage or crash or whatever it was that impacted several industries, where several industries were literally unable to function, right, because of the Microsoft outage. And now, as of today, Sunday, July 21st, we see that President Biden announces that he will no longer be running for re-election, right? And so if you are in the US, I'm in the US, so I'm talking to the US, right? If you are in the US, pay very close attention to the things that are happening in the US and understand that God is doing something, right? And so sometimes when we talk about God doing something, sometimes we automatically equate that to blessings and positive things, but God is also moving in judgment. God is also moving in other ways, right? But God is doing something, which is why we are seeing these shifts. We are seeing these, it's like turbulence. We're seeing kind of turbulence, right? It is a precursor to a greater event, a greater thing that is getting ready to happen, right? So I know I have on here, I had shared a word that God had given me, I don't know, maybe it was last year, where he said a shaking like a snow globe was coming. A shaking like a snow globe. And you can imagine, the snow globe, you kind of shake it up and everything kind of gets covered by the fake snow. A shaking like a snow globe was coming. This, what we're seeing, is not the shaking. The shaking is coming. But understand, this is almost kind of like the precursors to the shaking that is coming, right? What that shaking is, I don't know. I don't know what that is. But I do know that that was one thing. The other thing is, in the beginning of this year, the Lord had shared with me, which I had shared on here, that this year was going to be kind of turbulent as far as, what did he say? Let me grab it. Okay. Where he had said, this was January 3rd, that I had written it down. Tell my people to hold on, hang on. Even when the ride gets bumpy, I am the seatbelt that keeps you secure in place. And I had a vision of a roller coaster or carnival ride and the lap belt being put on as the person's getting ready to go on the ride, right? That was for this year. Shortly after he gave me that word, I was the first recipient of that word because my mother ended up going into a coma. And 3 months later she died. But that word was not just a personal word. I experienced it manifest, but that word was a corporate word, right? Letting, tell my people, right? And so there's that, and then him, the whole shaking like a snow globe is coming. So I just want you to pay very close attention to the things that are happening around you and understand that this is the time for you to be postured correctly. This is very important for you to be postured correctly. What do I mean by that? This is a time for you to really to get in your word. This is a time for you to really make time for worship and prayer. This is a time for you to have a lifestyle of prayer and fasting, right? This is a time for you to really be rooted, deeply rooted in God, because we don't know exactly what that shaking is, but we understand that it is something that's going to affect the world, and we understand that it is something that is going to be huge, okay? And so us as believers, we don't get scared and we don't get fearful when we hear things like that. But what we understand is that, it's important for me to make sure that I'm connected to the vine. I'm connected to God, right? It's important for me to understand that I'm rooted and deeply rooted and seated in God, so that whatever it is that is happening in the world or around me, I will not be impacted in the same way, because I am the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and they are safe, right? And so this is a time for us to understand that we don't know what's going to happen in this world and kind of where we're headed. We know what scripture tells us, right? Things only get worse. They don't get better, right? But we don't know what's going to happen one thing after the next. But we do understand that there's some more chaos and division that's coming. There's some more turmoil that's coming. There's some more, shocking events, that will affect lives that's coming. We know there are multiple things to come, right? But what we need to understand, that we need to make sure that we are rooted in God, that we are living a life of prayer and fasting, that we are in worship, that we are hearing God, and that we are obeying, we are being obedient to the, to the instructions that God is giving us, whether it is directly or through his people, through those he is speaking through. But we need to make sure that we are postured correctly, right? So that when things begin to happen and the world is turning upside down, you are not being turned upside down. You're seated correctly with that lap belt called the Lord securely around you, keeping you safe in place. Okay? And so I just want you to pay very close attention to the events and the things that are happening right now, and understand it's very important to be postured correctly right now. Okay?